Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show, as we have product placement by Pepsi. Uh,
You want me to
and
start that over? I'll do it
no,
again.
no, it's all good. It was funny, actually.
Okay.
This is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industry. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We're on episode 390 something, and
Holy smokes.
well, I had a huge 42 interviews in 42 days, kind of really upped my overall episode list. But yeah, I'm also going through the site and I'm recounting all of my episodes to make sure that I'm on the right track. So crazy.
It's a lot. It's a lot of episodes.
It's a ton of episodes, but we're joined today by a fellow interviewer, a fellow video producer, a guy that has done many things in the video game industry and world. You've seen his work on many different sites as well, and I'll let him explain what all he has done. Because he's a rather interesting, talented guy. We're joined today by Carlos from the website videogamebreak.net. How are you doing today, Carlos?
I'm good. I'm blushing a little bit.
Blushing. Why would you?
Yeah. What? I'm an interesting. What did you say? Interesting,
Interesting, talented, and creative guy.
talented. Wow. Okay. I'll take all those. And I like Pepsi. And by the way, they should give me money because I drink it all the time, and I don't get any money from them royalties. But I talk about it on every show. I swear.
Go figure.
Well, hey, it's great to be here. I'm excited, and we've been talking a little bit because we are now both part of a collective awesomeness, which is the Crossroads Alpha.
Yeah.
People should go check out that. There's a bunch of sites on there. But yeah, I just created this website 3, 4 months ago as a new brand called Video Game Break. I went alongside this show that I was working on, Video Game Break, the show. And we're relaunching that show actually next week, which is going to be fun. We bring in a co-host. But yeah, I've done a lot of different things for brands and companies I've worked for with video and video games and tech. And this is my most recent venture, which is doing it on my own, like my own site and videos and stuff. It's kind of fun.
Well, welcome to the solo game. There, it's a fun ride.
Yeah, it's also a non-pay ride,
Yep.
and there's no one really handing you money. But we're gonna at some point, hopefully, you get enough views, you get enough awareness, then you can talk to sponsors, etc. So
Yeah,
we're just excited to be doing it.
definitely. And I'm glad to contribute everything that I can towards the site too. I mean, I've always loved video games, and it's always been a passion of mine too. And it's finally good to be back in the reviewing scene of video games that I kind of took a couple of year break from. But what is it about video games that you're so passionate about?
Well, I mean, I grew up with them. A lot of people do nowadays. Most kids grow up with them, and it's just part of the landscape, right? But I grew up with them in a time when they were really unusual and different and weird, and I am always gravitated toward that in life in general. And I think at some early age, I remember seeing like, what is this Atari thing? I don't get it. Or what is, these old PCs my cousin was making in the garage? Like, what is he doing with those? What is that? What does that mean? And it was so fascinating because I didn't understand it, and it was something new, and that's again very much what Carlos is. That's who I am. So it's a special place in my heart. I've grown up with them. You have too. Some of us
Yeah.
have grown up in the industry and watched it happen, and then been part of this kind of evolution of it. So they're special to me because of my place. I feel like in it in the timeline, but also just on a personal level, an escapism.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a tough, dark world out there, people, full of taxes and ailments, which I'm getting some of those now because being a little bit older. And I'm telling you, I can jump into Skyrim. That is Gonzville. Like I've literally, you could say you could write a prescription for chronic pain. I've watched some like tooth pain or something I've had go away, dissipate a bit when you suspend that. So on a personal level, it's life helping. It's amazing.
Definitely. It's something that escapism is the perfect word for video games. It's not about what happens in the game itself. It's about how immersed you are in the story, the graphics, the characters. You invest a lot of time, especially the RPG game. Skyrim is a perfect example. I spent 600 hours on Skyrim and the entire expansion packs of it. And I was I was basically gone for at least 6 months of my life, so to speak, and playing that
Yeah.
game. But it was so fun.
Except that DLC where you just build a house. That one wasn't very fun.
That was stupid. Although when the dragon attacked the house and I killed the dragon, that was a nice touch.
That's a nice
Yeah.
touch. Yeah, I think, well, without going too much into Skyrim, because I'm sure we could talk about
Yeah.
that for a while, I will say that the biggest thing of that I love in games in general is that kind of, and it's becoming more popular, the procedural stuff, the idea that AI is very important. Finally, people are starting to recognize it can really change the way that, gamers are having an experience with this world. And that was what's great about Skyrim. I mean, we can play it right now. I could boot it up, and we could still have something new happen.
Yeah.
Right before I went back, because you always like I'm not going to go back, and then you go back. I went back recently to play the Dragonborn DLC, which is very good.
Yes.
I just like it was off my radar. I went back, played it, loved it, and while I was playing it, something new happened where somewhere outside of Whiterun, there was these owners of the stables, and they just started getting attacked by these random wolves, and they got killed. All right, like I couldn't save them. I tried. I ran around the corner, but they were dead from the wolves, dead forever. Like, and that was just something new that happened. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't bring them back to life. They were just like now, I was like squatting in their house because these wolves came by and killed them. I love that.
What's interesting though is when it comes to video games, you see the positive of video games and its influence of the young generation, of the creativeness that can come of playing a simple video game. Getting them into the industry. It's especially the independent video game developers that are cropping up everywhere now, because that's the world. You don't have to worry about being attached to a huge publisher like Ubisoft or like EA Sports or like whatever else. You can just create 4 or 5 friends from grade school or high school or whatever.
And you create No Man's Sky, right?
Yeah.
Because No Man's Sky is coming out, and that was like 4 to 5 people, Hello Games, and it looks like an unbelievable. They created a universe, a procedural, actual universe that you're going to play a game in, and there's our 5 guys. So like, yeah, it's such a good time for it to be an indie developer as the tools become more available, as price of things come down, just technology in general. It's awesome.
Yeah. What is it about, you look back at the independent, you look back at the old games of when we grow up with this type of stuff, and you look at the games now, and has anything really changed other than the superficial graphics and sound and all that stuff?
I think the things that are changing now, and changed back in the days of even, I would say Nintendo, like Super Nintendo and some things like that, when the 16-bit era, is just the processes like physics, and then with AI, right? So when those things started getting added, I think that did change it a little bit, and that's where I want to see the games move in that direction more. Like, yeah, you can put a new coat of paint on the game. If the game isn't fun, I mean, text adventure games are very fun to me.
Yeah.
And we could have a whole podcast about that.
Yeah.
That's these living, breathing worlds, really good writing. And so it doesn't matter if the graphics are even there in those particular things. If someone's listening and doesn't know what we're talking about, just look up Infocom or Zork or Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. All those games are, they have great storytelling in them. It doesn't necessarily mean graphics. But to answer your question, I would say artificial intelligence, AI, procedural, and physics-based stuff. I think that is changing it a bit. Because, I mean, think about it. You can play a game where you don't even know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Well, then you get games like The Division coming out soon, where it's an MMO, pretty much, but in a Tom Clancy world, which is just nuts in itself.
Yeah, then there's a lot of the zombie MMOs that are out, and H1Z1's coming out with Sony, and I just like this space. I think it's really interesting to see what's going to come next.
But usually when you get a group of people together, there's always going to be a couple of asshats around there to really either screw with the game or screw with yourself in the game. Has there ever been a time where you've played an online game where you've just been totally messed over by someone and it's just like kind of ruined your experience?
I think that's all of the times. That might be all of the times I've done it. Actually, that's one of the reasons I don't really play a lot of multiplayer online. Now, I love multiplayer together on the couch, and I'm not sure if that's because I'm older and that's what, was the norm. That's how you played games. But even to this day, like, I remember playing Diablo with friends, like, even just recently, we came up to Seattle. It was like we had a projector on the wall, 3 people playing Diablo. It did not get better than that in my book. So I think that's how I like playing multiplayer games. And you're right, you just have the possibility of more asshattery if you're online. And even if you're playing with your friends, I still don't think I like that. That doesn't feel good to me specifically. Like if me and you went to go online later and play a game, I just don't know. I like the togetherness part of it.
Well, I came from a WoW background as well too, so I'm used to the working with people that you have to trust or else you die, and all that other fun stuff. Although 3.5 years of my life go down the drain because of that, but that's beside.
Right. Well, no, and I do love. I guess I would put a caveat and say, if it's an MMO RPG, I'm more on board. Like when Elder Scrolls Online comes out for PS4, right? I'm gonna go and jump back into that because I do I grew up with Ultima Online, which was one of my time sucks, and yeah, I got the benefit of that. There was some real fun there, but I think the genre has to be what I like, and if it's just shooting people, I don't care for it. Like it's just multiplayer shooting people, that's not fun. But if it's again Diablo, Dungeons and Dragons, kind of stuff, then I'm on board.
You did Video Game Break did some amazing coverage of the E3 that was most recent, and I have to admit that was some great footage. I know a couple of those articles, many of those articles are going to go back up on TGT just to get that reposting because they have to be shown.
Hey, well, thank you.
What was it about E3 that really made you think, what, last year was okay, this year is going to be just incredible?
Well, it's interesting because it's based on who you ask how it was this year. If you ask Nintendo fans, they were pretty happy. The Nintendo Direct was a really cool idea. I was skeptical like everybody else, but I think it made a lot of sense, and they talked to their audience. They did a huge tournament, Super Smash Brothers tournament, there at E3, like across the street from it, which is so smart to do that for your fans. So I think they did a really good job. That being said, I still don't see why I'd want a Wii U right now, though. Like, there's still not enough games for me, specifically. And I think in general, what I hear from a lot of my friends who were there is that it was kind of a quieter E3 this year. Meaning, like, it wasn't normally when you go. Have you been to E3?
No. Oh. The only thing I recorded last year, the E3 from 2013, where Microsoft had all of their technological issues, so that's kind of funny.
Nice. Yeah, that was 2013, you said?
I think so, yeah.
I was in the audience for that. Yeah, and I remember it just being, like, weird.
It was
we were like, oh.
Very awkward.
Yeah, and then what's weird is that it got really loud, too, after. Like, it was mind-numbingly loud. I would just say that when you go there, it's usually like an explosion of sound, explosion of advertising. And this year, it sounds like it was a lot less booths, like a lot of less things. Now, the industry is very healthy, but I think that conference is changing. I think it might not be as healthy, and it might change and morph into something else. So I had a lot of great announcement came out of it, and I'm excited for a lot of stuff that's going to be next year. I was most impressed with Nintendo, actually. I still don't have a game that I really want to play, though.
Although the fangasm of Zelda, that swept the internet.
That helped. The Zelda Scrolls, as we like to call it. And also, by the way, that is my wallpaper. You can't see it right now, but that's my wallpaper, the artist rendition of the world of Hyrule.
Nice.
Yeah. But, I mean, to further answer your point, I think, every year it's like it gets less and less surprises. And that's what I like about E3. So what I like.
You like the predictability?
No, I like the surprises.
Oh, okay.
Right, and I said this year it was kind of not as surprises because we knew a lot of it, So I was reporting on a lot of it, but a lot of that stuff I knew. And yeah, but I mean, I like anything that coming together and explaining of new stuff. That's cool.
Nice. Well, Batman is going to be released next year, and that I think that's one of the more anticipated games out there. I mean, to like twice the sleep, like the almost a 1-for-1 scale of Gotham City type thing. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah, and I think the driving looks good, which is really important because the Batmobile, driving around the Batmobile, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop the Riddler or whoever I'm trying to capture. I just want to drive around Gotham.
Yeah, listen, I got things to do. I need to do this weird hairpin turn with my boosters on and jump over this statue. Just you go.
Yeah,
just do the crimes.
You just mugged that person. I don't care. That's fine.
Yeah. I'm jumping things with my Batmobile.
Alfred, I need another hairpin turn stat.
Yeah. What was that one movie where he did the? Which one was it? Was it Old Batman?
It was Batman Returns, I think. The one.
Didn't they do? Oh, wait, they send out the spike and then he goes around. He sends out the spike to like the lamppost or something. Right?
Yeah. It was Batman Returns with Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, because the stilts, the clowns were on stilts and all that stuff, and he spit it out and then he wrapped around.
I tell you guys, man, for y'all don't know, Tim Burton's Batmans were really good. They were a different thing. They weren't, Christopher Nolan stuff. But by the way, at that time, that's all we had.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a get off your lawn moment for a second, and you kids don't get it, but there was not this huge cavalcade of superhero movies out there. All right, it was a barren wasteland of no superhero movies. And then we got Batman, and we were all freaking the hell out. And
sorry, I had to grab these.
I was talking to the people. It's okay. Oh, here we go. There we go.
I mean, come on.
Blu-ray.
You can't have like classic Batman and Batman Returns, two of the best Tim Burton movies of the Batman series.
Now I want to watch them. You just showing them to me means I have to go watch them.
And then you compare them to these two. You have to go with Christopher Nolan. Like these are his two best ones. Forget number 3.
No, yeah, that Joker though, man, Heath Ledger. Come on, unbelievable, unbelievable. Well, yeah, I could talk about Batman for a while too, I think. But I'm excited about that game. I'm excited about so many games. I think what I like to try to do at the Video Game Break site, as well as just in my life, is to get excited about stuff. I've been around games journalism for a long time, and there's so many people who are jaded, and or they're not even. They might not be jaded, but the delivery sounds that way lots of times. I hear like a journalist or a podcast, and like, so what's coming out? Oh, that thing. Yeah, and they got that thing coming out. Oh, and then that thing. Yeah, that thing. But I'm like, what about like, holy crap? Like. Get excited. So, yeah, we just try to get excited about a lot of stuff because, again, it's a special time to be in right now with the amount of games that are out.
What's funny is, you speak about video game journalists, and the one that I grew up with, and that you might have as well, was, Electric Playground, EP, Victor Lucas, those guys. When I first saw it on TV, I'm like, they have a video game show? Oh, my God, I have to watch this. This is amazing. This is awesome. And
I wonder what Victor's doing nowadays. I should tweet at him.
He's still doing that stuff.
Is he?
Yeah, he's like the executive producer now, as well as host.
Where is that show? It still lives a lot. It's around.
I think it's more online because he was doing the coverage at E3 for this year. He was like doing the press moments, the Xbox stuff. Like, it was good coverage. I have to admit, for a guy that's been in the industry that long.
It's just weird because, that's been around for a while. I remember, was it Del Rico? No, Tommy Del Rico?
Yeah.
Tommy.
Yeah.
Tommy. And he's a funny little guy. And then just that concept, though, of like, G4 was huge for a while. And then they kind of went away, and now they're the Esquire channel. And I know people who in that kind of
area
got laid off kind of, the writing's on the wall or whatever. It's just weird because there's TV. And there's video games, and video games are doing amazing, and TV is doing amazing right now, but none of the two shall meet still. Like, it's like X-Play, awesome, gone. All that stuff. And that's why Electric Playground, if it's around, it's like somewhere, maybe it's syndication.
It might be online, to be honest. They might have.
And it might only be online.
Yeah.
I feel like I saw it once, like in a hotel, like flipping through channels, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's still around. But that's just weird that hasn't figured it out. You know?
Yeah.
I'm just saying I could do a TV show if someone wanted to call me, but anyways, minus the pitch part. Yeah, it's just weird that they don't intersect right now. The money isn't there for some reason.
I don't know. It's rather strange. I think people are focused on TV series rather than about video games when they get their content online. So if it migrated to online content and rather than the cost of TV, it's cheaper to post it online.
Well, what do you think would do well, though, if we're just coming up, like me and you are just two TV executives right now? What would do well on TV then, for video games?
I think if you merged EP with XPlay, if you merge those two styles of reviews and interviews together, you already have the big names as it is. Everyone knows Adam Sessler, Victor Lucas. They know Morgan Webb. They know these people. Just bring them all together for a super show, and just have that going 24/7.
But if you break down that show for a minute, and we're going reviews, like you said, reviews are already on the internet before they can even produce that show. Sometimes,
but
I mean, they can produce it in ahead of time, but then it's tricky with the whole timeliness thing, So yeah,
I don't know. The one thing they could do more of is interviews. I mean, interviews are only at least 2 to 5 minutes long at most, which is, perfectly acceptable. But you can start going a little more in depth and showcasing the studio as a whole, or as the developer, the music. They always talk to a producer, an executive person, or a possible programmer that was on it. They don't talk to any of the music people. They don't talk to any of the other people that make it. Make the studio. It's always if it's not a high person now, we don't want to talk about it.
You know what they could do? They could do like a Carson Daly show. Actually, I just thought of. Like Carson kind of does where like they do pre-tape stuff, but then they do it's all pre-tape, but like they do on location things, and then like they have a little area that looks kind of like a bar that they'll bring in an interview. That kind of a thing could be cool.
That would be interesting.
Well, either we'll do it or somebody out there do it. So I think video games need to be on TV. I don't understand why they're not. So
or at least they need more promotion either way. So
yeah.
Obviously Video Game Break is new, but you're not new to the industry. Where do you see yourself in say a 7-year time span with Video Game Break?
Oh, with the site itself?
Yeah, with yourself and the site.
Well, myself, I don't know where I'm going to be. I do a lot of things. I would say what I really want for the site is to have a good sponsor, to have to have money coming in from the site so that we can pay our writers. We have a chunk of writers, and you do too, and a lot of people have people working hard on the site. So we're going to be doing a web show. I'd like to have the web show potentially bring in some revenue, and just have the revenue so that we can put it back into the company. That's all I want to do, is basically create a place that gives the ability for everybody to write about video games. We haven't really talked about that, but that's kind of what separates us a little bit from other sites, is that we have people who mainly write for us, like there's like a handful, but then we have 10 or 15 right now, other people who are just posting whenever, but we're going to take the world. Like anybody who wants to post can. Yeah. And that's a differentiator. And I think that if we can start doing that, and then also paying a bunch of them, based on how much they're posting, et cetera, and articles, that'd be really fun. So years in advance, I'd like to see the show doing well, and the podcast keep going, and us doing a lot more live podcasts, and then us paying the writers. That'd be it. Actually, I don't want anything more than that, really.
I think that'd be interesting, especially with the if you can get the Asian market, especially with the advance of video games and technology they have there. Bringing that into your site, I think that would just be a huge bonus than what other sites even can touch. Because everyone focuses on, North America. Well, there's a little more to the world.
Well, Thailand has some crazy number of how many people are online gaming.
Yeah.
It's like a ridiculous number. We have one writer is from Iraq right now. He's a young kid who found us on one of my live streams I do. And I was like, hey, kid, you want to be writing about video games? And he's like, yeah. And so he posts video game shows he likes and talks a little bit about them. But yeah, I'd love to Yeah, I want to have everybody. That's the goal of anything I kind of work on is to get it's all inclusive, you know.
Yeah.
And one of my friends went to Korea recently, and she put up video game break posters like in the little town somewhere. I think it was South Korea. I am just remembering. I hope that it was kind of. But she was there for something, and yeah. So there's a couple of video game break posters in Korea. We know that.
That's awesome. That's good stuff. I know we're running short on time here, but is there anything that I haven't touched upon that you'd like those that are watching and listening to this to know
about? What would I want them to know about? Well, I should go to videogamebreak.net. It's a great website.
Oh, I'd hope so.
And I think no, I want to encourage more people to get out there and you know let their opinion be heard about games and not really feel as afraid to say their direct opinions. You know, I think a lot of in games journalism, there's been for the longest time a very kind of rigid structure on how things were done. That's obviously breaking apart, and you know, as I don't want to say the democracy, but like or the spreading out of how game journalism is happening and taking place. It's allowing for more of those kind of opinions. But yeah, just don't be afraid to be vocal about stuff because, I mean, there's no like special way you're supposed to talk about games. Yeah. They're fun and awesome, or they're terrible, you know. And they're all in between. But yeah, just say your piece. And now that being said, don't be a jerk. You know, like stop being a jerks. Because what's funny is and my mom taught me this is you can be. Someone will actually listen to what you talk about when you're being constructive criticism, as they call it, a lot more than if, say, you say F you and all these other terrible things. So, yeah, if you have strong opinions about why a game was late to ship or they didn't spend any time on the graphics or, like in EA's case, they just, for the longest time, had no competition, just kept putting out the same Madden game, essentially, then say it. But say it with, like, a bunch of information behind it. And, like, you know, research your thing, because if you're just going to say F you or whatever you're going to say, it's just not, it's not going to resonate with anybody.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
Not to be the old man in the room again, like I often am on these podcasts.
Get off my lawn, Shiny. I know your virtual dad.
That's pretty much it.
Well, good stuff there, Carlos. And, you know, I just want to thank you for taking the time to do this. I hate to say it, but that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. And
oh,
I know.
We're going to be all sad now. I want to thank you for posting some stuff and us reposting it, allowing us to repost it. You did an awesome UFC, very thorough UFC take on that game. Which is the weirdest name. EA Sports. UFC, right? Is that what it is?
That's EA Sports UFC, yeah.
That doesn't roll off the tongue.
No, because, it's EA Sports. It is what it is.
It's better than their basketball game, like I said.
Better than their last MMA game as well, so.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I think I just skipped over that one.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything.
I didn't know. Well, thanks for having me, man. Yeah, and I just reference that. Go to the Join Us tab at the top of videogamebreak.net and join us. Just add your name and your email and stuff, and we take everybody, you know. And what's fun, I'll end with this, is that I like editing and I like helping people. So if you're thinking like, oh, well, I don't think I could even write, or I just did something in college, and or my writing's like kind of bad, or English isn't even my first language, like just do it anyhow, because I want to help you figure it out, and I can like edit some stuff, and maybe you'll feel better after a few posts, so.
Definitely.
Come one, come all.
Wonderful. Good stuff. And, well, that ends this episode of Two Geeks Talking with Carlos from Video Game Break, which is at videogamebreak.net. Check out his amazing articles, great videos, and live production stuff as well, too. Some pretty awesome stuff there, as always. Now, don't forget, though, you can find this interview as well as hundreds of others on
literally hundreds,
like almost 600 plus, or no, over 600 by now, sorry, at of course our website tgtmedia.com. You can of course go to our our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/TGT Media for convention interviews, interviews like this one you're watching here today, as well as achievement hunter type videos that I have done myself personally, and some pretty funny, crazy UFC physics as videos as well too, just for the fun of it. Finally, of course, go to our iTunes, search itunes.com, and search for Two Geeks Talking. And, of course, on our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/2geekstalking. $1 every month helps us out. Every little bit helps. And we've been doing this for closing in on 7 years this coming August. So,
jeez,
it's a fun
Somebody
time.
give this guy $1.
Yeah.
Come on.
Or
more.
$1 or more. Yeah.
Oh, more.
Just like that guy in RoboCop used to say, I'd buy that for $1.
I would buy that for $1. 600 podcasts. Come on. Someone help this kid out.
Yeah. I need to feed myself. Anyhow.
I know. I do too.
But thanks everyone for listening and watching. Tune in to another great interview next time on Two Geeks Talking.